Just imagine one day you've done a crime, get found out, and then you get locked up. You know that your life will not be the same for the remainder of time you're in prison. It's pretty obvious many things you use every day are not allowed in prison. This includes cell phones, the internet, and many of your favorite foods. But there are many unexpected and surprising things which inmates can't have behind bars. From a book which has been deemed so dangerous for prisoners to read that it's been banned in every prison in the USA, to everyday things like chewing gum that you would assume would be totally fine to have in prison. Chewing gum. In prisons, guards normally do a cell sweep every day. At maximum security prisons, this is done in the morning and evening. But in normal security prisons, this is done every day in the morning. When this happens, one thing many prisoners worry about are the guards finding their chewing gum stash. You may wonder, why can't prisoners have chewing gum behind bars? Well, chewing gum can be very useful for making molds of keys. Prisoners can use the gum to make an impression of the key. This could be a key to their cell or a key to a storage cupboard in one of their rec rooms. Gum can also be used to jam door locks. Of course, this would cause problems for the prison guards. They'd think they'd locked up their inmates when in reality they could get out. Chewing gum can also be hardened and made into a sharp object. This could be used to harm the prisoner themselves or someone else in the prison, and even in some cases this has been used on prison guards. So for those reasons, chewing gum and bubble gum is banned behind bars. It is sometimes snuck in by visitors to the prisoners. But if prison guards find it, this can increase your sentence in prison, and in some cases even get you put in solitary confinement. Books. There are many books which you're not allowed to read behind bars. This comes as a shock to a lot of new inmates. After all, to pass the time, many prisoners read books. There's one book in particular that every prison in the USA has banned. This is called The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. The book provides 48 laws on how to live your life and gain confidence. This is based off the mindsets of Henry Kissinger, Machiavelli, and Sun Tzu. These are all great strategists who many said were ruthless. Many prisons also ban the follow-up to the 48 Laws of Power. This is the book The Art of Seduction, also by Robert Greene. Prisons feel these books teach inmates how to manipulate each other. Another banned book in US prisons is the AAA Road Atlas. This book was released in 2009, and it contains maps of the USA, Canada, and Mexico. The book has lots of tips for traveling through national parks and tourist areas. But in 2015, the book was banned. That's because it could aid prisoner escapes. It's pretty obvious why someone in prison would want to read this. After all, it's not like they'd be going on vacation anytime soon if they were locked up. Another very banned book in prisons is the Black & Decker Advanced Home Wiring book. This is a self-help manual for the home improvement electrician. It shows you methods on how to install various electrical components. And it also shows you the basics of electronic wiring systems. In prison, many people try and learn a trade craft, so you may be surprised to learn that in 2017 this book was banned. This is because they don't want prisoners messing with the prison's electrics. Everything from the lights to the alarms to the locks on the doors are done with electrical circuits. And they worry that if prisoners know how these work, they could change them or mess with them in some way. One more book prisons ban is named Zodiac Unmasked. This is a book all about the Zodiac. This was an unidentified person who took many lives in the 1960s and 70s. The Zodiac taunted the police and is said to have taken 40 lives. The book was banned a few years back because of descriptions of criminal activity. Prisons worry that inmates may be inspired by this and do similar crimes. The book also talks about manipulating police, which is something that prisoners may start to do if they read it. Spiral-bound notebooks. In prison, many inmates pass the time by writing. Some of the greatest books in history have been written by people in prison. Notorious gangster Al Capone wrote many diaries and his life stories in prison. Inmates can do this on sheets of paper, but something they're not allowed are spiral-bound notebooks. One of the reasons is because the metal spiral can be taken out and used as a sharp object. This could be used to injure other inmates or the prison guards. But another reason is that this spring could be used to pick a lock. R-rated movies. In some prisons, you're allowed to watch TV shows and movies. This is the case for medium and low security prisons in the UK. But in 2013, a rule was brought in to say that any R-rated movies are not allowed to be watched in UK prisons. This includes any R-rated movies shown on TV and also on DVDs. Strangely, you can watch prison escape movies in prison as long as they're not rated 18+. But back in 2013, the Justice Secretary said he did not want any prisoners watching R-rated movies. Many people say this is silly because prisoners have often lived pretty extreme lives. Some would even say R-rated lives. But there's a reason R-rated movies are not allowed in UK prisons. The reason why is because there's often fighting in those movies. Prisons worry that this may inspire the inmates to do similar things and cause big prison brawls. Phone numbers and addresses. One strange thing prisoners are not allowed to take into prison with them is lists of names or addresses. This is for various reasons. For one, this list of names could be brought in and those people could then be targeted when prisoners get out. For example, it would be very bad if a prisoner took a list of people who testified against them in court into prison with them. Prisoners normally have to memorize their family and friends' names and addresses. They then write this down on paper they're given while in prison. Sometimes, prisoners write down names and addresses of their friends in Bibles. But in some prisons, Bibles are also banned. Instead, they have to be special soft Bibles provided by the prison. That's because large hardback Bibles and books can be carved out. Contraband then can be hidden inside those books. Also, big, heavy books with hardbacks are banned because they could be used to whack people over the head with. Getting whacked on the head with an encyclopedia sure would hurt. Staples, pins, and paper clips. A lot of the time, prisoners have lots of documents. This is because their lawyers send them big stacks of paperwork. But sometimes this can actually get prisoners into trouble. All of this legal paperwork often has staples, pins, or paper clips attached to it. But all of those things are strictly banned behind bars. Staples could be used to poke people with, or they could be used as a makeshift tattoo needle. Paper clips can be used to pick locks or used to poke people with. And pins can also of course be used as a small poking device. Lots of toilet paper. Every prisoner gets an allotted amount of toilet paper for free every single week. Prison may be tough, but at least you don't have to pay for your own toilet paper. You can, however, buy more from the commissary if you have the money. But one thing you're not allowed to do with toilet paper is hoard lots of it. If you already have a few rolls in your cell, you may not be allowed to buy more. And if you sneak more in and try and hoard it, you could get in serious trouble. That's because over time it could be hardened to make a prison shank. It sounds crazy, but this has been done many times before. Full-length pencils. Prisoners love writing, it's a great way to pass the time. But one thing they can't write with is a full-length pencil. Instead, they're given those tiny miniature ones people play bingo with. The reason why larger pencils are banned is because they could be used as a poking device. Sometimes, prisoners modify the tiny pencils they're given so it's easier to write with. Makeup. In women's prisons, many of the inmates still want to look good. That's why in certain women's prisons you can actually buy makeup from the commissary. But in other prisons, this is not available or sometimes outright banned. Some female prisoners have been known to use the food coloring from the shells of M&Ms and mix them with water. This then makes makeup that they can put on their face. But even though this seems totally harmless, this is against the rules in many prisons and will get you into big trouble. Sleeping masks. According to inmates, one of the worst things about prison is the lack of sleep you get. This is for various reasons. For one, prisons are very noisy at night. People are often fighting, chatting, or just shouting out of pure boredom or insanity. But another reason it's hard to sleep in prison is the light. Quite often, for security reasons, some prisons leave some lights on all the time. You may think a sleeping mask may help here, but they're actually banned in many prisons. Sometimes prisoners make their own, but this will get them into big trouble. Anything rechargeable. Prisoners are allowed to buy batteries from the prison commissary, but usually anything rechargeable, for example an electric toothbrush, is banned. This prevents the chargers being adapted to charge illegal mobile phones. Jewelry. Jewelry, except for some small religious jewelry, is banned. This is because it could be used to harm the prisoner, other prisoners, or the prison guards. The jewelry also must not have a value of more than $100. That's because someone may take your life for it. It may sound crazy, but prisons are very tough, and this actually did happen in 2010. But now it's time to make your voice heard. Comment below which was the strangest thing banned in prisons. If you want some more amazing videos, then check out my second channel. But as always, thanks for watching. There are some more videos on screen right now. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and if you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to Top 10s.